Is Football Manager's new data hub really a game changer? Let's find out together. Hi guys, and welcome to FM22. I hope you're as excited as I am to be taking a look at some of the features in the game today. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on the brand new data hub. And I'm very excited to get stuck in and figure out if it truly can be the game changer that we've needed for a while. We'll answer that question together. But spoiler alert, yes it is. Now, it's very important to note that the things you're seeing are from a very early build of the game, so bear that in mind. But that said, it is extremely polished. In the pinned comment and in the description, you will find links to 5 other videos from other FM creators about different features that are being added to the game this year and exploring them in their entirety. So do absolutely go check them out. From the much talked about transfer deadline day feature to some other features that you just may not know about. So I have a lot of things that I want to discuss with you in quite a short space of time in today's video. So things are going to be quite condensed, but you should get an idea of a lot of the new features in this particular part of the game that I'm extremely excited about. I just want to very quickly give you a tiny bit of context as to where I am in this save right now so the data will make a little bit more sense really quickly. So essentially, I am halfway through a championship season with Fulham, 23 games played. We're top of the league, like I can dream, right? And that's currently where we are. So all the data will be based around that. So some of the things you'll see in this video will be familiar to you, but it's the way that they've all been expanded on to provide so much more depth and detail than ever before that I'm really excited about. So let's jump in. Now, one of the first pieces of data you're going to come across in your saves is opposition reports. Now, these have changed a little bit. You'll now be presented with key findings upon the upcoming match, measuring various different metrics from defensive efficiency and other new metrics such as the possession one here, as you can see, showing where that team stacks up and which things are worth focusing on. Now, these will vary depending on the quality and number of your analysis staff, which makes having good analysts, and as many as you can, more important than ever, to get the maximum amount of data before each game, to allow you to make the most out of all these new metrics that are available. And the same logic is then applied to the post-match analysis, which once again provides you with key findings, including XG analysis, much more detailed pass maps, the brand new match momentum analysis, and various other metrics. But these are still mostly things that you're probably still somewhat familiar with. It's when we dive into the data hub that things start to go to the moon. So on the overview screen, the first screen you'll be presented with of the data hub, you'll be able to see a lot of key findings that you may have seen from other matches, along with findings from a sort of larger period of time, along with more basic team performance metrics like team attacking and team defending, things you would have seen before. But on the right-hand side, you'll see a big list of any specific analysis that you have requested from your analyst team. More on that in a minute, because this is where things start to get very fancy. It's when we go into the team performance tab that things start to get very interesting. Now, you still have your reports and your shot data that you'll of course be used to. It's this stuff that excites me. So on this screen is your main analysis hub, where you can have access to a wealth. I believe on this one screen alone, there are 18 different metrics that you can have measured in various different graphs. But this screen is also entirely customizable. By hitting the edit button, you can drag them around on this screen. You can remove them and add them, of course, to lay out the screen exactly how you want, and so that it makes the most sense for you. Now, I admit there is a lot of data on this screen right now, but you can still tell at a quick glance, just through context clues such as the green and the red and the yellow, whether you're performing well or badly. But if you want to take a closer look at this, just hitting that, bam, up it comes, and this is a way that you can unpin it from here as well. But you'll notice that there is a lot more new metrics in here that were not present before. Stuff like crossing, aerial challenges, even things like movement are tracked through this. And as you can see, my Fulham team struggling a little bit in that. And this isn't even the height of what you can do here. In here is where you request reports from your analyst. Now, there are also some suggestions as well, which is very, very useful indeed. But there's also a search box we can use to search through the different analyst reports that you can attain. Or there's the drop down on the right-hand side here, which will present you with many, 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 many options. Now, obviously, I have a lot of them already selected, so they actually aren't showing up here, but they will do when you don't have them on this screen to start with, which means you can customize it to your heart's content. And the same applies to scatter graphs as well, which is these that you're seeing. You're also able to see shot maps for the last 5 matches and the last match as well, XG match stories for the last match, and of course, the fabled XG table that I love so much is now easily accessible through here, and well, I mean, you can see we're overperforming slightly. In addition to that, the new zone maps, which can show you where you're carrying out more defensive actions, possession gain, all things to help you build a better tactic, essentially. One of the things I really like about this new layout of the data hub and the way the data is presented is that it is now more accessible to new players of the game, that before you would have had to potentially dig through to find these things, and some of them weren't available at all, and now they're all available on one screen, which you can then edit and access at any time you like. But wait, it gets better, because this same logic can then be applied to the player data hub, which I've deliberately left a bit more blank so we can add a few ourselves. This allows for even more niche metrics based on individual player performances across the league, and it tracks basically everyone in that division. Now, there are 24 different scatter graphs that I've found so far in here, and there might honestly be more if you have slightly different types of system that you can access and pin to this page. So for example, we'll just do forwards and then goal output, and you can see that, you know, we've got high quality shooting, but low assisting. And in this particular scenario, it's just tracking any player that have scored goals for us this season. So I hit display and player analytics, and bam, it's now available on this screen. You can see that we're kind of just a bit average at the moment. Generally speaking, you can see that a lot of our team are very good at winning the ball, but a lot of them also, particularly in the fullback areas, are losing the ball quite easily. It's just so nice to see simple things like that represented in these scatter graphs to just make it so obvious exactly what's going wrong in your team potentially, and to see who's performing better than others at a very quick glance without having to dive as deep as you may have to have had done before. As you can see, Tosin absolutely smashing it in that side, whereas Michael Hector is winning the ball a lot less than Alfie Mawson. It also has a sort of secondary function as a scouting tool for the league you're actually in. Best example of that I can find right now is the assisting one for midfielders specifically right now. You can see most of our players are clustered in this bottom corner, except Connor Mahoney, who is in a league of his own here, as being an incredibly highly creative player and a high assister. And if you're on the sort of league where you're looking for those sort of scouting, he's the kind of guy you'd probably want to take a look at this point. One of the other really cool things about this is that it can be filtered by goalkeepers, defenders, and forwards, because certain graphs obviously apply to certain types of player, which means you can see it all on one screen. But if you want to get a bit more granular and just have specific data of a certain part of your team that you're looking at, well, then you can filter it by that perfectly. So I've just gone ahead and added a few different defensive metrics to sort of track us. You can see there's a few players here who are struggling aerially. Now, I would have guessed that would have been the fullbacks, and that is generally speaking been the case. Although Cyrus Christie has apparently performed better. Tosin is just smashing it on every possible front. And you can see Joe Bryan is sort of going up for a lot of headers, but not actually doing that well when he gets there. Now, I like to do quite heavy analysis at the end of a season, but it's stuff like this that is going to make me be coming back to this screen on sort of a monthly basis, just to sort of track how things are going, and also be able to track how any changes I've made tactically or player personnel-wise have affected the team over that period of matches. But also, as I said, as an excellent scouting tool, particularly if you are in already the top flight of a league and looking for new signings within that league, as is evidenced by sort of outliers so far like Ryan Brewster and also Keshi Anderson and even Caballero, but that's more of a negative thing than anything else. And of course, this screen can be edited in the exact same way as the team one. Oh yeah, and did I mention that every metric you set up on the team performance page is then mirrored in the next opposition report tab, which shows you the exact same statistics but for your next opponent. In this case, it's Birmingham, which is really, really useful when planning match ideas, and something that I really do feel is going to actually drag me into this screen to do more pre-match analysis of my upcoming opponents. But now, onto possibly my favourite thing about the data hub, and ironically it's not actually in the data hub. So as with any of these things, I'm always interested in how minute and granular I can take these sort of analyses, and turns out very is the answer. So just using Tosin Adarabioyo as an example here, in the reports tab you have another option called player performance. Within that, there are actually individual player analytics that only specifically apply to the player that you have selected. And this is the thing I really like. These do not set some kind of default across the entire team. No, these are unique to the specific player we are looking at. If I look at a different central defender right now, I can have different player analytics set up to show for that particular player, which is incredibly useful if you perhaps play two different centre-back roles within the same team. Say you have a wide centre-back and a ball-playing defender. You're going to want to know more information about certain things for each player. You can now do that from here. And you can just see how good Tosin has been, except in the tackle. Just a really quick example of all the different things that you can see from this one menu and how well he's performing, but you'll also be able to see where he's slightly weaker than everybody else. The other good thing about this is it's not just separated through goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, attacker. It's a bit more granular than that even so. Say, for example, this one I set up for Joe Bryan, of course he's a fullback, meaning that he then gets access to different player analytics because he plays in a different position. There's no point in really having the crossing data for your centre-back, but by damn, you definitely want it for your fullbacks, and that's what we can see here with the wide play one, along with various other ones, including possession, aerial, defending, passing, tackling. Not to mention the stuff I already have listed, like creativity and crossing. And this same logic is applied for every single player in my team. I can have custom ones for every single player and for every single position as well, which is going to make those end-of-season analyses a lot longer, for one thing, but also a lot more in depth, and I'll be able to get way more out of it, and I'm sure you will be able to as well. One last thing I just wanted to quickly show you within that as well is within the goalkeeping one, there are actually two metrics, one for goalkeeping just in general and one for advanced goalkeeping, which I find really, really interesting because it can actually give you a bit more information about the way your goalkeepers are actually playing. Because yes, Fabrizio is down here, but he's not making many saves because he's not actually having many shots to save in the first place. So it's potentially making him look worse on this metric. However, when we look at how he's actually doing as far as XG against, he's actually doing a lot better than that previous graph would have shown. And it's stuff like that I really, really like the ability to see. So all in all, if you're a bit of a data anorak like myself, you are going to love this stuff and probably lose yourself in it for a longer amount of time than you would potentially like, but in a good way. And I cannot wait to see the different ways that I'll be able to implement this stuff during my longer term saves, both for analysis during the season, after the season, and even for potential scouting, as I'm almost certain that this same data will be available for players that you have then got your analysts to get analyst reports on as well for potential signings, even if they're in other leagues. So to answer the original question, yeah, I think it actually might be a bit of a game changer in this particular area of the game, to be honest, and I can't wait to play around with it further. So, if you have enjoyed this video, drop a like on it, that would be tremendous. Let me know in the comments what you're most looking forward to doing in FM22. What save you're going to be doing? If you are new to the content, hit that subscribe button for basically daily FM22 content once the game drops fully. And I will be back tomorrow with another FM22 video looking at the quality of life changes that honestly are just going to make these saves that little bit more fun and life that little bit more easier, trying to pretend to be a manager. So I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.